If any of you lack wisdom, put your hand up if you lack wisdom. Oh, you know what? I didn't think that'd be that many people. But hey, good job for you for noticing. I put my hand up too. If any of you lack wisdom, how many do you know that if you're going through a trial, it's really nice to have some wisdom, right? If you don't have it, you'll tend to look for advice, hopefully from a decent source, of somebody who does have wisdom. And wisdom can keep a lot of trials away from you, you know? And wisdom is to trials, like you guys, when you were in school, okay, and it was time for a test. Maybe the teacher brought a pop quiz on you, or you just knew the test was coming, either way. And it's time for a test, and you're sitting there. And he's giving you the sheet in front of you, and your knowledge is about to be tested. And if you're anything like me, you were always the very last person to finish the test. Which, you know, you're just like, oh man, like, is everybody smarter than me? You know, but they're not. I know that. But anyway, so wisdom is like the person who finishes the test first. Okay? Wisdom in your trials is like the person in class who was just like, oh yeah, boom, 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 boom. I passed the test, and then they take their paper, and they get to take that walk of glory beside all the students, soaking up all the dirty looks, you know, and then handing it in, and sometimes they even got to leave class early. Wisdom in your trial is like that. So you need some wisdom. But remember our two ingredients. Verse 5. If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask God, who gives generously without reproach, and it will be given to him. That is a promise. God gives wisdom generously. Even in Proverbs 1, it says that wisdom, it says she cries out loud in the streets, but nobody's listening. It says that wisdom isn't playing hide and seek. Wisdom is crying out loud for us to grasp it, but no one's listening. And it says that God pours it out generously, but, here it is, let him ask in faith, ingredient 1, and with no doubting, ingredient 2. Let him ask in faith and in steadfastness, with no doubting. You take these two ingredients that you've received by your suffering, by your trials, and it postures you to go ask God for wisdom. And with those two ingredients in your hand, he pours it out on you with faith and steadfastness. And here's a bit of a scary verse. I'll start at verse 6. But let him ask in faith with no doubting, for the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea. You think it's funny that the word steadfastness is defined by unwavering? And the Bible here is saying that if you doubt, you're like a wave. It's literally in the name. Don't be like a wave. Doubt is like a wave of the sea that is driven and tossed by the wind. For that person must not suppose that he will receive anything from the Lord. They just grouped anything in there. When you ask for wisdom without faith and steadfastness, without faith and endurance, you must not suppose that you will receive anything from the Lord. He or she is a double-minded man or woman, unstable in all of his or her ways. You ask with steadfastness, with a resolutely, dutifully firmness that you're going to get through this, that you're going to get what God has for you without any doubting. God gives wisdom generously. You take your two ingredients. Yeah. And he'll fill you up to overflowing. I was sitting at home one day, and my kids were playing hide and seek. And I can hear them. They're on the floor above me. I'm below, and they're doing, ready, you're here or not? And Caden comes running down. He's barreling into the living room, kind of looks around, and then darts off to another direction. 10 seconds later, my daughter comes down. Obviously, she's the seeker. And she comes and she sits beside me, and she says, "Ready or not, here I come." And she looks at me, and she's like, "Do you know where he is?" And I said, so I'm not going to snitch. I said, "No, I don't know. I haven't seen him." And she goes, "Where are you, Caden?" And then she's just sitting there. She's not getting off the couch. She looks at me, and she's like, "Well, I can't find him." And I thought at the moment, I was just like, well, you actually have to get up, and you got to look around. You don't know where to go, but there's like only a few bedrooms here. There can't be that many places for him to hide, right? But I thought in the moment, I was just like, we do this. We do this. We're sitting down, and we're saying, "God, like, where are you?" And we're sitting down on the couch, so we're not getting up, right? Presley is a picture of double-mindedness in her game of hide and seek. Her mind is saying, "Where are you? I want to find you," but her actions is saying, "I'm just going to sit here. I actually don't really want to work for this." Where are you, God? And God says that those who truly seek will find. Presley wasn't truly seeking. And I think a lot of the times when we're in our trials, right, and we're suffering, we have an opportunity to truly seek, to truly receive what it is that God has for us. But we're sitting on the couch and we're saying, "Where are you? I can't find him." And a lot of times you come and talk to your pastor and you say, "I haven't heard from God from a really long time. I don't really know where he is in my life." And sometimes we just don't know how to seek, and that's okay. That's okay. There are people here who love to show you how to do that, but sometimes we know how, and we chose not to endure. We chose not to be steadfast. Just keep digging. And he'll fill you up to overflowing with wisdom, with faith and steadfastness. So much so that when the tests come, they're not so scary, right? Not that you don't have to have faith. And you can go and witness and help other people through the tests and the trials and the suffering that is in their life. It's not a sin to have suffering in your life. And wisdom will serve you. So my sermon is entitled Trials and Good Gifts. Trials are a part of the good gifts that God gives his people in order to make them whole. Right? Trials help you produce or wholeness in your life. They help you make a spiritual pilgrimage complete. They build character in you. We see this. You can go look in the Old Testament. You see it all over the place. If they look back at the Israelites when they were just getting, they get to they're growing as a culture, and then God scatters them. Right? Because of trials and suffering, and they have to go out. And then when they go out, the message spreads. Trials God uses in order to help make a spiritual pilgrimage complete. And they're part of the good gifts he gives us in order to make them whole, but not good because they feel good, because they don't feel good. Good because of the benefit that you get from your life, going through trials with God, going through trials in the church family. When your suffering produces character and hope. Now this is where it gets a little confusing, but I'll tie it nice. Verse 9. Let the lowly brother boast in his exaltation, and the rich man in his humiliation, because he, like a flower of the grass, he'll pass away, for the sun rises in scorching heat, and withers the grass, its flowers fall, and its beauty perishes. So also will the rich man fade away in the midst of his pursuits. It's not evil, and it's not a sin to have lots of money. Okay? If you have amassed wealth, millions, hundreds of millions. That's not evil. It's not sin. I could find a lot of Bible verses for you that to show you that, right? But what it's saying here is that word, pursuits. So also will the rich man fade away in the midst of his pursuits. What is the priority pursuit in your life? Because trials, every trial does this. It kind of builds a tension in your life between the world and between Christ. And both poverty and riches bring enormous pressure on a person to focus on the world rather than focus on Christ, right? In the New Testament, there are more verses about finances than there actually are expressly about salvation. And that's not because salvation is less important. Obviously, that's the end goal for everybody, right? It's very important. It's the reason any of this is here. Salvation is what we desire for you guys and for anybody online listening. That's the goal, okay? But there's more verses on finances. And you got to ask why. Like, why did Jesus talk more about that and talk about salvation? Because he didn't come down from heaven looking for finances, right? He was a nomad. He didn't have a home. He even said to the rich guy, I don't have a home. You want to follow me? Sell your home because I don't have a home. And he talks about finances because where your treasure is, he knows this, there your heart will be also. Jesus didn't come down seeking finances. He came down seeking hearts. And he knows that where we put our treasure, there our hearts will be also. There's a verse in Matthew 4:26. It says that you can't serve two masters. Love God or love money. He didn't say love God or love lust. Love God or love stealing, right? Like the one concern that they had was money. And not just money, but the love of money. The priority pursuit of your life and money, because riches and poverty bring enormous pressure on a person to focus on the world rather than to focus on Christ. And God used finances. Jesus was talking finances in order to reach people's hearts, because that's what he was after in them. The challenges of poverty and wealth and finances may be the biggest trial of a Christian lifetime. I don't know about you, but most of the trials in my life have been between what can I control and what can I do, and what do I give up to follow or to trust in Jesus. And money is just everywhere. So much so that the author of James, felt the need to plunk it in there amidst talking about all of this stuff, because this is something that relates to everybody. The pursuit of the world versus the pursuit of Christ. And it's a trial of control. Having faith in yourself or having faith in God. Having faith in your ability or having faith in His. Now, that's not saying that that's expressly the only trials you will have, but that one is so important that the author felt the need to put it in there, or he was led by God to put it in there. What is the inclination of your heart? It says here that in the midst of his pursuits, the rich man will fall away. Not because it's evil to have money, but because the priority pursuit, your priority pursuit cannot be the worry or the love of money. It has to be trusting in God. Verse 12, blessed is the man who remains steadfast under trial, for when he has stood the test, he will receive the crown of life, which God has promised to those who love him. There's another verse that says, God said, if you love me, you'll obey me.